This video will in fact contain spoilers, so beware. I'm letting you know now. So yeah, I saw Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the movie, and Knuckles, on opening night. And yeah, it was great. I've never really talked about my thoughts on the first two movies, but I thought they were both pretty good. I thought Sonic 1 was a really fun movie, and it was such an amazing feeling to see Sonic on the big screen. Sonic 2 was better than the first, introducing Tails and Knuckles, as well as introducing the Emeralds and Super Sonic. By the time the credits had rolled, I was satisfied. I specifically remember waiting for the post-credit scene, and then turning to a friend I saw the movie with and saying, "If it's not Shadow, what's the point?" And then proceeding to lose my mind when it was, in fact, Shadow. To say I was excited for this movie is an understatement. Sonic Adventure 2 is one of my favorite games ever made, and to know it was getting a theatrical film release was such a crazy feeling. I remember patiently waiting all year for that fucking trailer to drop, and in August when it did, oh my god. Dude, I was a bit nervous about it like before, but after the trailer dropped, it just eased all of my worries. So, I am so happy to be telling you, this movie did Sonic Adventure 2 justice. I always liked Movie Sonic. I mean, he's not my favorite adaptation, but I have like no problems with him. Like, I think he's pretty great, but this film like really elevated him. The entire third act, Sonic is just amazing, and Ben Schwartz gives an actually great performance. When Sonic said the iconic low-budget flight line from Sonic Adventure 2 before jumping from the helicopter, I was sold instantly. I trusted that this movie would be great immediately. I genuinely, when he said that line, and I got up and clapped. I didn't actually. I just got like, I'm really excited. But I was sold. I think one of my favorite things from the film is the Team Sonic dynamic. They all feel like best friends, and they all get their time to shine. Like in the second movie, Tails would always be doing this thing where he like kind of just would be like, only Sonic needs rescuing from blank. Only Sonic can do blank. And he kind of just felt like an add-on to Sonic. And like there was those cute moments with them becoming friends slowly, which I did love. But I feel like in this movie, Tails and Knuckles truly get to shine and just like do what they do best. Especially Tails. I feel like Tails was doing amazing. And I'm so glad that in recent Sonic media, Tails is coming back. Not to mention Knuckles, dude. I am so excited for this era of people finally seeing that Knuckles is fucking awesome. I think the whole cast is great. Team Dark especially. Jim Carrey as Robotnik and Gerald is honestly outstanding. I genuinely completely forgot that they were being played by the same person and weren't actually in the same room until the joke they made about it. Then I forgot again. Props to everyone who made that happen because the effect is perfect. Like it's honestly, I just kept like, I completely forgot that they were not in the same room and that they're the same fucking guy. By the way, all the CGI and stuff is amazing, especially for such a low budget. Robotnik and Gerald are great, but come on, Agent Stone is as great as ever. I really wish we got more Stone in the movie, but his emotional scene at the end was so great. But of course, Shadow the Hedgehog stole the show. Every scene with Shadow just had me giddy and excited. Like if I told my 8-year-old self there would be a Sonic movie with Shadow the Hedgehog, I would go crazy. The action scenes with Shadow were also engaging and fun, just all the action, really. I felt like I was 10 years old again. Every time Shadow came on screen, I'd start kicking my feet and like going, ooh. I think Shadow is handled really well in this movie. Like, his writing is very well within Shadow's character, and he even has funny lines without being out of character. I'm fully convinced Revenge Guac is a line Shadow would say. Not to mention the whole Maria part of his story. Perhaps a controversial take, but I think Maria has done better than in SA2. In Sonic 3, you really get to spend time with Maria and Shadow. You get a better sense of their sibling-like relationship compared to SA2. I love Sonic Adventure 2 and its cutscenes as much as the next guy, but you only get like one scene of Maria talking and then the rest is the gun invasion and her death. I mean, I'm not going to say I think movie Maria is better than normal Maria, especially with future games. I think Maria's story in the games is a lot more compelling for me personally. I think what I definitely missed was, that whole, Maria being sick and her being in space with Shadow, and them kind of like relating over not being on Earth. I just really love that, and I wish it could have been in the movie. I get why it wasn't. It'd be a little, like, I guess confusing that there's a space colony arc now. I mean, I get why it's not in the movie. And I feel like Gerald's story is not as like tragic as in the games, because Gerald, he spends years and years trying to work on a cure for Maria just for her to be killed and all of his work to be for nothing, and losing the most important person to him, which he did in the movie. But I feel like in the games, because he spent all that time trying to cure her just for her to be killed by something other than the disease, I feel like that was just that extra sting that made him want to fucking kill everything. During Sonic 3, I remember like actually tearing up a bit during the scene of them sitting under the stars. It was such a beautiful scene, and it hurt because I already knew how her story ended. When Maria dies in Sonic 3, it made me almost cry. Now I want to talk about probably my biggest worry going into the film, Gerald Robotnik. When the first trailer revealed he was alive, I didn't know how to feel about it. Gerald in Sonic as a character has always been very serious and shrouded in mystery. So to see him all goofy and silly, I was worried they wouldn't make him a satisfying Gerald adaptation. But man, they pulled it off. They did their own take on Gerald that I ended up loving. I expected the twist of him acting it all up for Eggman and having some darker intentions, but man, I still loved it. Just most of the over-the-top goofiness being an act was such a great twist, and his plan being to kill everyone on the planet and himself is pretty fucked up. Alright, I've been kind of dipping my toes in it, but let's talk about the story. I think the story is pretty great, definitely the best out of the trilogy. The way it slowly would progress to the explosive final fight was great. The scene with Team Sonic talking about the Master Emerald was genuinely fantastic, and the scene with Sonic and Shadow on the moon, bro, oh my god, mwah. I have some things that left me unsatisfied though. Like, Commander Walter's maybe death was so quick it felt weird. Like, I feel like we could have spent a little more time with him and his relationship to Shadow, because they set him and Shadow up, like, knowing each other and having some sort of connection, and like, the only thing we know is that Commander Walters is the one that sealed him in, and that they kind of knew each other. And we also don't even know if he's dead. Not even the movie, like, really tells you clearly if he died or not. So, like, I don't know. I also think Shadow just being in a meteor from space is kind of weird. Like, they just mention it, then, like, move on. Maybe something to be explored in a Shadow movie, but, I'm glad that they still at least considered him the ultimate life form. Okay. I got a lot of main points out of the way. This part is going to be a bit of a mess, just, like, because it's, like, gushing time, I'm just going to fucking vomit my thoughts onto the page here. Okay, dude. The references and callbacks in this movie is fucking awesome. I already mentioned the low-budget flights line, but the endless Shadow the Hedgehog game opening shots being recreated, Shadow with a fucking gun and a motorcycle, the Sonic stage clear jingle when Sonic wins the race in the opening, the Bio Lizard being like this like old-timey movie that Maria and Shadow are watching in a flashback. But speaking of, the music in this movie is a huge step up compared to the previous. It's like they suddenly weren't embarrassed to use video game music anymore. The Eggman theme from 06 and other future games during the Eclipse Cannon launch genuinely gave me chills, dude. Like, I couldn't believe it. I noticed that one song had like a very City Escape sounding motif, and I caught Eggman's Sonic Adventure 2 theme as his ringtone for 2 fucking seconds. And you also know I can't talk about the music without mentioning Live and Learn. Dude, I have never in my life gotten such intense chills or excitement than when Live and Learn started playing. I went into this movie knowing that it literally had to have Live and Learn, and they delivered so fucking well, dude. There's also this amazing original piece that plays when the sun shines on the moon with Sonic and Shadow that I just loved. I think the most excited I was during the second scene with Live and Learn, where Sonic and Shadow team up. That fight scene was great, and not to mention them hitting the fucking Sonic Adventure 2 moon pose in super form. Like, did anyone else lose their minds at that at all? I haven't seen anyone talk about it. The whole third act is just fucking spectacular, man. We've had Sonic and Shadow fight, but never Super Sonic and Super Shadow fight, and it was fucking awesome. Not to mention, during the end of the movie, when Shadow is going to move the Ark out of the way, and he takes off his fucking limiter rings, that was crazy. Like, genuinely the last thing I expected them to ever do or reference. After my second viewing of the movie, I kind of thought about it, that's never explained, so they just put that in knowing you had to know that shit. You had to know what that meant. Otherwise people who don't know are just like, okay, he took his little rings off, cool. Last but not least, the post-credit scenes. The second one I saw coming from a mile away. But the first one, oh my god, bro. If you've paid attention, you've probably noticed I'm a huge Metal Sonic fan. Like, he's up there. Maybe he's tied for my favorite Sonic character. And to see him in a movie, oh my god. And of course, I cannot forget Amy too. It genuinely has me really excited for 4. I genuinely think the Sonic movies have been fantastic for his reputation. This might sound fake, but I swear on my mother this happened. When I saw Sonic 3, I went on the earliest day possible at the earliest possible showing in my city. I was with a few friends, and about 2 seats over from me, next to my friends, was this like 8-year-old boy. And he was ecstatic to be there. He would jump out of his seat or clap when any of Team Sonic or Shadow did something cool and cheer. I specifically remember during the scene when Shadow turned super, he quietly yelled, "Super Shadow!" and jumped out of his seat and clapped before sitting back down with the biggest smile on his face. It was genuinely the most heartwarming thing ever. I think during the whole post-Forces era, I thought there wouldn't be kids growing up with the franchise that I love so much like I did. But I think these movies have changed that. I think I saw myself a bit when I would hear that kid getting excited, you know? Like, that's exactly how I would react if this movie came out when I was his age. I think it's so special that there's still kids that get to grow up with Sonic and have such a strong passion for this character. It has been such a great few years to be a Sonic fan, and I can only hope this momentum keeps up. But even if Sonic takes a misstep or takes a few steps back, I know they'll always get back up. I know Sonic is a spark that won't go out. That's all. Happy New Year. Let's see if I can upload more than one video this year. Or not. Maybe I'll just fucking disappear again. Anything's possible.